Look at Tamron's jeans. They've literally ripped to pieces. Tams, I think you need to retire these before I get a lecture from your mother. It's 6 a.m. in the morning, and if you're wondering why we're up so early, it's because we're on our way to the bus stop to catch a bus to Malaysia.
We have just made it to the bus stop. Well, we think it is, but we've got 30 minutes to spare, so we'll fathom it out. But today we have two goals. One goal is to show you the process from getting from Singapore through to Malaysia via bus. And then secondly is to tell you any interesting facts or tips that we learned while we're here in Singapore that we wish we knew beforehand. So starting with the first tip is that Singapore is a very walkable city, but it is so hot and so humid, it's not highly recommended. You would get to your place sweating bullets. So just hold up, there's so many buses and so many trains that it is walkable but not highly suggested. Time flew by and our bus is already here and we are taking the KKL to Malaysia. Look how big the seats are and look at my legs. There's like space for days and there's even a leg rest. So cool.
So if you're wondering how you get a bus ticket, you basically go online. We went on redbus.com, and then the other one is EasyBook. The reason why we chose Redbus is because they give you a discount if you're a new member. So yeah, wherever we can save, we always do. And then you also need to just make sure that you choose the bus stop that's closest to your accommodation. Where we staying is quite far out, so ours costed us 33 Sing each. If you like closer to like Marina Bay and stuff, I think you can get a ticket for like 25 or 26 Sing. So yeah, just make sure you check which bus stop, and also you need to make sure you check the destination that you're going to, the one that's closest to your hotel.
So we have officially signed out of Singapore. It is the simplest thing ever. You all have to hop off the bus, you walk into this building, you scan your passport, you look into the camera and you walk out. And then the bus is now just going through clearance, and then we're going to hop back on the bus, cross over a bridge which is about a 5-minute ride, and then we're going to check into Malaysia. There was no traffic at all. So we definitely recommend taking the 7 a.m. bus.
The second tip is, if you guys ever see a sign or a price that has plus next to it, that just means that there's no service fee or taxes added to that, which means that so just be wary, like when you get to the counter, that if it says 10 Sing plus, it's not 10 Sing that you pay, it's 10 Sing plus all of those charges. And I'm not sure, I think the service fee depends on what the restaurant wants to charge, but the taxes will remain whatever I think it's 7% here or 10% here.
We just passed into Malaysia. It's really simple. We just disembarked off the bus, went inside, they checked our bags just through the scanners, and then we're done and we're back out and back on the bus on the road to Malacca. Just be warned that you're not allowed to eat and drink on the bus. You can only have water.
Please be informed that food and beverage is not allowed on board. However, water is permissible. We thank you for your cooperation.
But what they do is, after you've entered into Malaysia, halfway to our stop to Malacca, we've stopped at this place that has many food stores that you can eat at, or groceries that you can pick up to snack on before we hop back on the bus. But please remember, you have to bring ringgit because most of the places here only accept cash. And also one thing that we're quite surprised about in Singapore is, like, we could expect they'd speak English. We didn't expect like everyone to be able to speak English. Even the old people, they could all speak English, and they were either like extremely fluent, or they were like, you could totally understand what they were saying. So It's really good, especially if you're nervous to go there. To be honest, coming straight from Singapore, our standard of food is like very high. So we're excited to eat here in Malaysia because we hear the food is quite similar and just as delicious, but at half the price. So, ooh, this is very hot, but let's give it a try.
What did you get?
I got a chicken bao, so it's a chicken bun. This is really good. It's got like pieces of chicken inside and like some other vegetables. But the flavoring has got like the sweet stickiness and like the savoriness of the soy sauce. This is like really good.
How much was it?
This was 550 ringgit.
We're done eating. It's time to go before the bus leaves us. So one thing you'll notice about Singapore is that they've got a lot of rules and a lot of fines that they give if people aren't in compliance. So, but a lot of them apparently aren't enforced. They're just there to kind of deter you from doing the wrong things. And there's one big misconception that a lot of tourists have, and that misconception is that you're not allowed to, it's illegal to chew gum in Singapore, which is not true. It's actually, you are allowed to chew gum in Singapore, but it's illegal to sell chewing gum in Singapore. And that's why you don't see anyone in Singapore actually chewing gum.
We have just made it to.
Malaysia!
It is really, really nice. The bus that we just came off, the KKKL bus.
The seats were super big. Fit for 2 or 10.
So, like they're so comfy.
Usually my ass gets sore by the time it hits the 4-hour mark, but this time it wasn't sore at all. So I can definitely recommend this bus. So make sure if you guys are coming to Singapore that you guys, book a ticket with them.
We've now got a short walk to our accommodation, but we know check-in's only a little bit later from now, so let's see what will happen. I thought Malaysia would be less hot, but to me it feels just as hot as Singapore. It's like I went from one oven to another. But we've arrived at our accommodation and check-in's only a little bit later, so there's just a laundromat next door, so we're going to get our laundry done. One other thing about Singapore is the accommodation. It is crazy expensive. For what Nick and I usually stay would be like 2 adults in a private bathroom in Singapore that costs around 100 to 150 Sing dollars, which is more on the expensive side. It's more leaning towards prices we've paid in Europe than what we would expect here in Asia. So just be warned of that.
We've just made it to our room and we wanted to actually end off this vlog by like doing some rapid fire tips and interesting facts that we found along Singapore, just to end off this vlog.
First one, it feels super, super safe. I know everyone says it's safe, but when you actually go there, it feels amazingly safe. You can, like, sometimes Nick left his bag open with all his camera stuff, and we didn't feel like, oh no, something's missing. We just zipped it closed and carried on with our day.
Didn't feel like we'll get pickpocketed or anything.
Correct.
It felt as safe as if you've ever been to Korea or Japan. It felt as safe as that.
Next thing, it is super, super clean. Like,
yeah.
Gosh, you could almost lick off the floor clean.
No. It's just, you just couldn't really spot like litter anywhere. Like any street that we walked around, like you couldn't really spot litter. So that was like very interesting, because in a lot of the countries where the tourists are, a lot of the times those roads are clean, and then the roads adjacent to that aren't clean. But like in Singapore, it doesn't matter where we walked, whether we went to the local spots or we went to tourist spots, it was always clean. Yeah.
Another interesting fact is, if a Singaporean goes to the casino, I think Ming Tai told us they have to pay either between 150 or 200 Sing to enter the casino.
So basically what Tams is saying is tourists can get in for free,
Yes.
but Singaporeans have to pay 200 Sing if they want to even basically enter the casino. So like that's really crazy, and I guess it's a really good rule, because you do want to keep your own population wealthy. So yeah.
The next one is the mix of culture. Obviously, Singapore is made up of three main cultures. We've got around 75% Chinese, if I remember correctly. Then the balance is made up of Indians and Malay, and then the rest of the population, which is like expats and everyone else in between. So you can really see the mix of food and culture just when you're going around. It almost feels like there's no culture because there's a mix of culture, but I think that is the culture. And while we're here in Malaysia, our friends are telling us all Singaporeans come to Malaysia just on the weekends to do shopping, movies, chill and hang, just because everything is half price.
Yeah, it is a lot cheaper. I mean, if you look at the laundry, for instance, like our laundry costed us $2 for washing and drying with detergent, whereas in Singapore it'll cost us 10 to $12 for the same service. So it's a really big discount. I mean,
So they said sometimes people even do a day trip. Like
yeah.
that to us was just an interesting fact. 'Cause that's mind blowing. Who would like jump to another country? Because for us it was like a 5 hour bus ride. Like who'd do that in one day and then still go back?
But
Wow.
that leads us to the second thing is Singapore is super small. Like you can literally get from one side of Singapore to the other side of Singapore in about an hour.
Yeah.
And so I guess it does make sense because if you're just going over to Malaysia for grocery shopping, you can get to Malaysia within an hour and a half.
If you take a car.
Yeah.
And then where we stayed was really cool. So we stayed in Tampines, which is a residential area for locals because we stayed at a friend's place. And there were actually like a few coffee shops, which are like hawker centers, but like on a smaller scale for the local residents in different areas. And his coffee shop had a few stores that ran 24/7. So like we could get like chicken rice or char siu rice. We could get laksa at like 1 in the morning. We can get prata. I was just like, because Nick and I always go out for like midnight munchies, and that was just perfect for us. It was like a full meal. Another thing is there's a little to no traffic because you have to bid for a car. So every car, you have to bid for it. It's between 80 to 100,000 Sing to bid for a permit to buy a car. And the permit only lasts 10 years. And then after that 10 years expires, you can renew it for another 10 years. And after those 20 years, you'd have to bid again for a new permit.
Yeah.
So that's what just keeps the car numbers down and it keeps the traffic flowing. It's absolutely beautiful. But let's be honest, they've got an amazing public transport system. So not everyone would require a car like we do back home in South Africa.
But I mean, just like entering Malaysia and the amount of traffic there was just today, I mean, like it just makes sense why they actually get people to get a permit because there were so many cars. I mean, it took us, I think, an hour just to get like 5 kilometers today, and that was at 1 o'clock, not even during traffic hour.
Another one is you need to stand on the left hand side when you're on lifts, elevators, or walkways. They kind of follow the rules when you're kind of driving, because on the left hand side is all the slow cars, and then they overtake all the fast lane is on the right hand side. So that's how they do it. You just keep left. It's just polite, so anyone who's rushing or on the go can overtake you. Where in South Africa, we just both stand next to each other on the lift, and anyone behind us must just wait till we all get to the top. So it teaches us some patience, but our friends from Singapore said that made zero sense to them because they like to walk it and they're obviously rushing it on the go.
Yeah.
Another one would be bring an umbrella. You know, that doesn't sound like a typical thing you would like say, like, hey guys, bring an umbrella. But for us it rained like every single day. Yes, okay, it is rainy season, but when you're not using it for the rain, you're using it for the heat of the sun that is burning into your flesh. So it is like a double-edged sword. And we're gonna finish with our very last one, and that is carry tissues or wet wipes in your bags at all times. That's because when you go to the hawker markets, most of them don't really give you tissues. You'd only get like cutlery and your food.
Yeah, that was the weirdest
just
thing
want-
because in Asia they always give you like tissues and cutlery and stuff, but like in Singapore, like we couldn't even find the tissues at the hawker stand. So yeah, but then we found out from Pauline and them that that everyone always carries tissues, and the reason why is also so you can use a tissue, like the little tissues, to actually book your table.
Yes.
So that's what they use the tissues for, and then I guess the bonus is they can use to wipe their hands afterwards.
And talking about tissues actually as an extra is when you're going to the ladies' bathroom, not in all bathrooms but in most public places, they only keep the toilet paper by the basin. So if you go to the loo and you don't instinctively know to get toilet paper, you're stuck in the loo and you've got no toilet paper. Luckily, I had tissues in my bag, but just in case you were like me and you rock up and you're like sitting on the loo and you're like, where'd the toilet paper go? Just know to find it next to the basin before you go into the loo.
That's most of the things that we learned. I think we actually learned a lot more because Pauline and Mingtai told us like so much. They knew so much about the country, which is really cool. But these are the things that we remember.
That stood out.
Yeah, off the top of our heads. So hopefully you guys found something interesting and you guys learned a couple of things to do and not to do in Singapore, and also how you guys can save money or how you guys can travel better in Singapore and not make the mistakes that we made. So that's it from us. We're going to call it a night from here.